work on how to interact with subcontractors. It's one of the most critical uh, parts of this job. They do a whole lot to help with getting everything built. You should have already watched the other two videos, so you know what a subcontractor is. So we're going to go over the basics of how we here at Silverfield interact and communicate with our subcontractors. So that way the subcontractors know what to expect and you know what's expected. So every single person, subcontractor, anybody that's on this job site is going to have a checklist. And the checklist, this is an example of one. Of course, we'll have three copies of this printed off. Um, One is going to be with the person who assigned the job. The other copy is going to be at the house. And then the third copy, that is going to be with the person who's actually performing the job. They're going to take that home with them, and that's part of how they give you a bid on what this job is going to cost. By doing that, it's going to give us a very clear, numbered uh, thing on what to expect and what needs to be done. And most importantly, they're not getting paid in full until every box has their initials on it. So this is a critical critical part. Everybody has to have a written job description, and the reason it's got to be written is so if somebody gets sick and somebody else has to fill in watching that contractor, everybody knows what the job is. We don't do anything off of verbal agreements. It's way too complicated. Uh, Everything has to be written, and your job description. And there's another video on how to make this, but you always have multiple blocks here at the bottom, so you can handwrite or use your pencil to write in what all is going to be needed. Because sometimes as you're walking through things, you see something that uh, didn't make it in the list. When it comes to the date, we want to put the oldest date we can think of on here, the oldest date that this concept got started. So that way, I don't want jobs ticking away for a week and a half. I don't like that. We're going to have all these jobs. We're going to know how many days they've been worked on because we need to see that things are moving along and that things are getting done efficiently. When we're talking to the subcontractors, we're going to check the cameras first and see if they're working, if they showed up on time, and if they're not there on time and they don't have as many people as they said they were going to have, we're going to figure out why. We're going to ask them what's going on. So use the camera first to check, and we use the camera so we don't have to have the people playing on their cell phone all day. The camera allows us to see what's going on without disturbing anybody else. Uh, we can talk through the camera. We can turn the motion light on. Uh, the camera's kind of hard to communicate with because it's got a lag time, but it is good for seeing what's going on, and you can get a real general picture of what all is being performed, and especially if they're painting the wrong side of the house, the camera can easily show that. When you're going over the list with the contractor, every single item on this list, every line has to be spoken about, and it has to be talked about every line. That's how we keep it uniform. And nobody says, well, I didn't know that's what you were talking about. Because people have different definitions for words, especially if it's a Spanish to English combination. And of course, we do have the ability to translate this into Spanish. So this one doesn't have it. But when it is a Spanish speaker, we have the English and then we have the Spanish underneath that. So the person who assigns the job, that is the only person who needs to be talking to that contractor or that person working. So we have a chain of command, and that's how we stay disciplined. That's how we finish things on time. And the chain of command is how it goes. We have the person who assigned the job. That person is with that contractor until that job is done. It does need to be clarified uh, what materials are going to be needed, uh, who's going to be providing them. Is Silverfield paying for them, or is the contractor paying for them? And the way we do it is the contractor writes us a list, or some if that's how they want to do it. If they don't write us a list, they're responsible for materials. We're not. If they write us a list, we'll get that list. If they forgot something that goes in that list, they got to go to the store and they got to buy it, and then we'll reimburse them when they send us a copy of the receipt. That's that's how we do this. It takes a lot of work. I mean, it often costs somebody 2 hours to go to the store because they forgot to put something on the list, and that's their problem. They forgot to do it. They need to be the ones who go to the store and get it. We'll pay for the material, but they got to go pick it up, and we're not getting charged hourly on those types of deals either. They got to go and pick it up and bring it back. And of course, that is circumstantial. It depends on how that specific agreement was done, but typically they go get it, we reimburse them. Now, if they break it on their own, it's a different conversation. If we got a subcontractor who stops responding, um, we're going to say they stopped responding after they go 24 hours without saying something back. Some of these guys they get busy and they get paint on their hands or anything on their hands, and they can't just pick up their phone and answer your phone call. So after they've gone 24 hours and you hadn't heard from them, we might send them one or two more messages, but we're not going to go chasing them down from work. We're going to look at our contacts spreadsheet. We're going to fill the pipeline. We're going to put somebody else in there because this is a train, and if they get left behind, that's their fault. We're not waiting for them. We're not messing up our schedule to babysit them. So after 24 hours, tell them, you guys, we're going to have to get somebody else on this job. And sometimes I understand situations are a little bit more complicated than that, but that's just our general rule is 24 hours and then you get somebody else from our contacts list. We also, when that happens, we want to go on the contacts list, which I'll pull that up. And there's a different video on how to fill this contacts in, but we're going to dock that they quit answering the phone and then they're not going to be the first person to call next time. But we're gonna write our notes in right here, and that's how we're gonna document what happened. To enter in their 1099 information, this is an example. Uh, put the 1099 information here, the address, the name. Select what type of work they did. This right here, this determines how much the workman's comp insurance is going to cost. So it is important that this carpentry stuff. That's the most expensive stuff. So the doc what kind of work they did, and then you know this is just an example, but you'll put your address on here and how much you paid them for that job. And then you'll just to do this so it doesn't get confusing, especially if you're doing multiple stuff on here. Like let's say you paid them $100 to mow the grass and you did it twice. Yeah, that's how you would enter 200 in, and that way we can track it. This helps us at the end of the year to send out 1099s. To do their insurance, we want to go here to business insurance, and they should be emailing you this stuff. And it's general liability and it's workman's comp. There's only two types of insurance that we typically need. Whenever they send it to you, you're going to upload it to the business insurance folder. You're going to write their name, their company name, whatever is on this insurance. Yeah, y'all know the people that we call by name and the people that have company names. So we're going to enter their company name and this, and then we're going to enter in. That's the one was filled out wrong. This one was done right though. All right. So company name, general liability, or workman's comp. Put that there, and then put the street name that they did the work on. Then make sure you scroll down, and I don't have time to find it right now, but make sure you scroll down, make sure their insurance is current and it's applicable to this situation, and make sure their name and the name on the check we write match. Um, it could get bad if their insurance isn't real and they fall off of the roof. So that is that's how we work with these subcontractors. They're very critical to the business. It's It's very important that we try to keep a good relationship with them. And most of this stuff can be solved by simply having, let me grab a checklist. By simply having something like this, you can save a lot of time.